And we are live with another evening of sunshine, apple pie, puppies, and 40K meta recaps. I am Mr. Brad Chester. The dude over this way, that's you, Brian.
It's Brian Horton. How's it going, guys?
Underneath him, on Tuesdays and Mondays, is Stephen Crowley. I am ready to yap about Power Rangers, the meta itself.
All right, so, Brad, I gotta say, I didn't get a chance to talk to you about your tournament list beforehand, so I really wasn't sure what you were running. And one of my guys, one of my locals before my tournament on Saturday goes, "Did you see Brad's list?" And I'm like, "No, I hadn't had a chance to look at it." And they were like, "He's running all the Aspect Warriors and Phoenix Lords and Wraith Lords." And I'm like, Brad lost at bets, my guess, and there's a mean list coming.
Lyle cyber bullied me into it. I have to say, I'll give you it was the best of times. It was the worst of times, because I really enjoy Aspect Warriors a lot in Eldar. I like the lore. I like how they play. And it was super fun. However, holy crap, sometimes you can get no damage. We were just saying, Janesar and Howling Banshees, I don't know if I could take enough of them to kill one unit of Terminators.
see, Brad, when we were talking about this before, and you were like, "I need to take more trash," we meant low point efficient units for scoring, not actual trash.
We were saying that I was playing Gary Frank, who brought a ton of terrain and left some terrain at Glass City. Thanks so much, Gary. You're a G. We're playing on stream, and I was saying this before the stream. He charged a Maliceptor into the unit of Howling Banshees of Jane's Arn. He's like, "How afraid should I be of these guys?" And I go, "I'm not 100% sure I can wound you." And he goes, "Oh, really? Wasn't she good?" I go, "In the days of yore, Jane Czar did some stuff." The playmaker was up there. Michael Irvin was down came up to the Glass City. Nurgle Matt was intimidating Judge Master all weekend long. We had a great time. It was a good tournament. Have to give props to Mr. Sniggs. Jason Stogowski ran the tournament. Got to give props as always to Daryl, who hosted us, for the nickel he basically takes from us. So we gave tons of prizes away. I say I had nothing to do with running it. I was just the random guy there. But Sniggs was running it, and if he's doing something, I'm taking partial credit, because that's what I do. So
for those of our wonderful fans who are here that were not able to watch the stream, Brad, how did you do this weekend?
I did all right. I decided to win a decent amount of games. Definitely went positive. I almost rocked it for the entire week, and then Mr. Josh Minnick and I went to a tie in Game 5. So I was hoping to keep the Ninja Warrior Power Rangers alive for the entire time. We had Necrons and Eldar both go 5-0. The Canoptic Court is a real thing. It's a hell of a drug. We had Mr. Folger Piles won. It didn't really break any ground there. As far as I was running Power Rangers, he was running Trip Night Spinners, Wraith Guard, and the Incarn. So yeah.
Yeah. Sir, we respect you and your awesomeness of your list, but yeah, we know what you did there.
Well, Denver Fight Club had Sisters win. Sisters, Necrons, Dark Angels. It was crazy too. I love what happened there, because they had no undefeateds. They had so many 5-1s. They were just kicking each other right in the head. It was Rochambeauing it for the win. I love to see that, though, because a lot of players getting to play each other. A lot of different lists too. Their top 10 was fantastic. Also, glad for the weekend we had a lot of, like for Glass City, Eldar, Necrons, Tyranids, World Eaters. Tyranids different. We had a Vanguard and an Invasion Fleet. World Eaters. Denver Fight Club had Sisters, Necrons, Dark Angels, Space Marines, Death Guard. We had 4 Orc wins, by the way, over the weekend. Thank you very much. And we had 2 Sisters wins. What is happening in the meta, baby? 2 Sisters GTs and 4 Orcs. All I'm saying, good times.
Oh, sorry, I was trying to interrupt. I was going to say, our good friend of the stream, Dice with Rice, has been playing the heck out of his Sisters and been enjoying the heck out of that list just because he's like, yo, I heard you you don't like it when people get automatic dice and Eldar. Let me get 3+ a turn just for funsies.
Oh, especially with that stupid unit with the dialogists and stuff where they're just like, hey man, I'm going to break all the rules and just turn all of my dice into 6s. Which ones? Yes, all of them.
Yes. I will kill whatever I need to kill.
But it was a good time. I like this weekend made me think 40K was fun. And the meta itself looked like it was fun. We still had a lot of the same olds, you know what I mean? With, like, for instance, Chaos, as usual, semi-staying under the radar for some reason, but still winning tournaments and being at the top, with tons of people going X and 1. And so, KR, your Custodes probably got to get nerfed now. One of them went 5-0 in Australia. So
Australia meta doesn't count, man. They do weird stuff down under. They do weird stuff down under, man.
What was in my list? I legitimately brought one of the Aspect Warriors for all of the, and one of the Phoenix Lords for almost all of them. I didn't bring any of the good ones, so I didn't bring Shadow Specters, and there was no any. But I brought all those. I brought an Avatar, a Death Jester, a Farseer on foot, and 3 Wraith Lords. That's a lie. 2 Wraith Lords and a Wraith Seer, who is so much worse than a regular Wraith Lord. Oh, he's so bad.
So did you like the Wraith Lords?
No, I wanted to. I really wanted to. The problem is they hit on 4s now. The 2-up save was nice. They're 2-up save and they're 11, T11. But hitting a 4s is a pitch sometimes, especially when, I don't know, maybe you're playing Death Guard and they make you weapon skill -1 and pop stealth on something and you're like, so I'm hitting you on a 6? Huh. Well,
that is nasty.
Firing in the air like you just don't care. I wanted to like them because I really like the Wraith constructs a lot, just lore wise. So I wanted to like them. I didn't hate them, to be honest with you, either. Like Jane Zara and the Howling Banshees were a hot, steamy poop fest. But the Wraith Lords they did work sometimes. I have to give the Avatar credit. He was bonkers talent. That dude felt great. Just roll better. you know what the Avatar dies to? Stupid Typhus is power. I don't know if you guys know this, but Typhus is a power. If you're within 18 of them, just on a 2+, he can do D6 mortals, D6 plus 3 if he rolls a 6. And Mr. Minnick was like, man, I can't do any wounds to the Avatar. How about if I 2-shot him with Typhus? And I was like, well, poo. Oh, Carmona, now you know, I refuse to acknowledge this unless it's on a phone call. But we're gonna move on with life. Always keep track of things. But what did you guys think over the weekend for the meta? We had another big weekend for Black Templars, which was a little bit of both. They had Ironstorm and Gladius, so we only had one guy playing Ironstorm, you know what I mean? But we had GSC rocking the docks over the weekend for some reason. 44% win rate coming into the weekend, and then 60% for the weekend with 7 people bringing them, which I thought
that's a huge number.
And then also AdMech out of nowhere, coming out of like a phoenix rising out of the ashes with a 57% win rate. I still think you can bring max trash AdMech and make it work, by the way.
I think you can play hard AdMech and look at your opponent and go, do you have enough bullets?
Yeah. I feel like there's this weird spot in the meta right now where, because lists are so difficult to be able to solve so many problems, that you can just take lists of specific types of armor or of just enough bodies, and you're not in a circumstance where people are going to be able to reasonably deal with your list, right? And that can artificially skew the numbers.
Look at Lyle talking shit to me, and it's a super chat, so I'm gonna say it. How do I change my coach from Brandon Rice? Brad's coaching led to me to my win rate at GT going down this weekend. And then he goes, "It's all on me, not on Brad."
Lyle, did he tell you to roll more fours? Because I mean, that would have solved all your problems.
Yeah, I do love when Rice does that though. Sean is my favorite on that. When you tell him like a weird dice thing that happened, he's like, "You should just not do that." I'm like, "Oh, thanks, Sean."
Yeah. Okay.
But like we had two different lists that haven't done anything in forever do fairly well over the weekend. And we've had Sisters getting some very big consistency and putting up some decent amount of wins, to be honest with you. You know what I mean?
I mean, Sisters have one of the mechanics that I like and hate in the game at the same time is the manipulation of dice. The minute you're playing a dice game and you don't have to roll dice, it becomes a benefit that is massive. And especially for key rolls, it's a huge thing.
Oh, 100%. You keep seeing a lot of these. I like this. They score so well on this. So CSM. I think CSM's probably going to get hit from an elbow from the top ring rope. But what do you guys think? World Eaters is obviously doing well. It's just consistently doing well. You know what I mean? It's been at over 50%, period, since 10th edition. I don't count the 10 weeks before the data slate. That wasn't a real thing. But since then,
for me, World Eaters, I think, just have a consistently good mechanic of bringing back Necron. And there are some interesting ways to play the list. And as long as people aren't abusing a rule that is clearly a typo where they put Exalted 8-bound in a Rhino, there's a lot of good there. I mean, it's an interesting, consistent list. It's one of the few lists that melee well. So it makes for a fun and enjoyable game at the same time.
It's a wild army because it skews so many things when you're talking about. You're getting ready for stuff sometimes. You have to go, all right, this is how I'm going to play against this Horde army. This is how I'm going to play against this shooting army. And this is how we're going to play against World Eaters because it's its own separate animal.
Yep.
I agree on that, Carmona. Carmona's like, World Eaters would do well on GW terrain, but he doesn't think they'll do as well on player placed. I agree on that because you can make much more open boards and make people take more space on that. In GW, you can, depending on which GW, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? But you can hop to hop, and they are very nasty. I don't think they're terrible on player placed at all, though.
Stop, baby.
That's a big thing. So I am wondering exactly what's going to go on with, first off, Eddie said it for KR, but man, I mean, Adeptus Custodes are obviously fixed and they don't need anything at all.
Because they won one event?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, look, outliers happen. It's inevitable that somebody pulls off a miracle. They have great matchups. They roll really hot for a day or two, and they get lucky. It's going to happen on occasion. Just because it happens once doesn't mean it's a consistent thing.
Yep.
It's big on that, though. I'm just looking through the meta again, and just looking at one of the armies that I've really been wondering about. Two armies. One, Death Guard. The two armies that were at the bottom before the data slate and got raised up. Death Guard and Votann. I don't think Death Guard is going to get touched at all by the data slate, and I really like where they are. I think they're the ultimate. They've got the tools to win games. They don't roll over anybody, you know, and they feel like they're in a good place. The army I'm really worried about right now is Votann in the data slate, because if they touch them too badly, it's not like they have anywhere to go. You know what I mean? If your army gets hit and you're in Eldar, even a CSM, you just have other data slates that you can go with. If Votann gets hit too much on one or two, what do they got? 6 data slates? You know what I mean?
So what's Votann going to get hit on? The Sagittar goes up a little bit in points. I mean, outside of that, what are they going to do?
I don't know. That's something I'm worried about if they touch something else, you know, because again, they have so few data slates that if they get touched a little bit to any you know, in any of them, I think it'll be messed up.
Like it's an easy class.
So I am a little bit worried about that.
And I don't think we're going to see much to either of those armies. I think Death Guard will be perfectly fine. I think Votan, if they do anything, they'll probably just increase the points on the Sagittar. I don't think any of the other stuff is standing head and shoulders to the point where you're like, oh, I can't deal with that. It's too overpowered. The Sagittar is just a little bit too inexpensive for what it can do.
Sorry, I'm looking at the wall right now, and we've got, Meta Monday's like one less judgment token. Anna's like, I think that Hearthguard will probably get touched. Carmona's like, they'll increase points on Thunder Kid. And then you've got the Playmaker coming in with just squat the squats.
I mean, are Votan overperforming to a degree to the point where they actually need to get touched?
They just. That's my thing is I don't think they are. And they haven't been winning a bunch of tournaments. They've been having a good win rate, but they are beatable, and they also have a very binary way to win. So I think that if you touch them, you gotta remember, everybody kind of like forgot it because you're like, what's happened in the last 4 weeks, kind of thing. Remember before the data slate, obviously we had the Eldar crisis going on. But
that's an understatement.
Yeah, but I'm saying like Votan was the worst army before they raised them up. You know what I mean? So like Votan's very volatile again because they don't have very many data slates. I just don't want to see an army that's kind of cool get trashed on when it's not really breaking anything. I don't know. I'm kind of a big fan. If your army's in a good spot, leave it alone, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, it's not an aspect of the game that's so rough to the point where you have to plan about it, right? It's just something that you know how to play against when you're playing against. It's not like anything in Votan is like, oh my god, I have to be able to deal with X, right? Like Eldar's 16 different mechanics that I have to plan with every list construction that I do. So I don't know. I just don't. I think there's room for healthy middle table bullies like Votan as an army, right?
Yeah,
I agree.
And like one of the things that people are saying need to get touched are some of the enhancements for Space Marines. So I assume that's probably something we'll see a little bit. Like a blade driven deep is probably going to get a little bit of a points increase, not a massive one, but a little bit of one. And I assume like Uriel Ventress will get an increase.
No, he does nothing afterwards though. Uriel literally shows him, he's like, where do you want me, coach? And he's like, yeah, you already did your job, dude. If you don't even show up on the table, no one would mind.
It's a glorified enhancement that has a model.
Yes. He is legitimately an enhancement that came with a model. And you were like, do I need the model? You're like, I mean, not really. You're kind of you're actually hurting my role on a Purge the Foe.
I don't want you to be alive for assassinate. Please.
Yeah, assassinate, Purge the Foe. You're like, I kind of just don't.
Although I don't disagree with you on the theory of that. The problem is you gotta pay for them, right? There's got to be a points cost associated with both parts of the model, and that enhancement's probably like a 40 point enhancement, and then you've got a model that could in theory do stuff. So he should be a little bit more. I'm not saying you raise him up 100 points. I'm just saying you make it more than where he currently sits.
Yeah.
20 point increase, just enough to be annoying.
I'd be so angry at that.
I know, and that's why it's perfect.
Zach, Zach, I'm surprised you're not getting ready for the championship. For LVO, we were playing on GW3, and we were playing. And LVO has changed their FAQ several times, so I didn't think that I would get really good feedback for because it was fixed instead of player placed, and also because I wasn't sure what they were going to be using as far as their FAQ. So, yes.
But that should be locked now, right?
It's still not. I don't think so. I mean, it's got to be locked right before the things. I mean, we're all guessing, you know what I mean, when all the things are coming out. We know that they're not using the data slate, and we won't get anything new before. LVO's lock is what? A week from now?
The dates for the lock of lists and rules and everything?
Well, rules are locked before the list, of course. Do you know what I mean? Because they'll have to...
Right. I think the rules lock is this week, right? Isn't it tomorrow that the rules lock is, I think, if I remember correctly?
I would say it's soon. Yeah. It's either... I think it's this week at some point in time.
Yeah.
So...
But I admittedly, I'm not going to LVO this year. I'm taking a little bit of time off to, do some hobby side of things as compared to traveling for a tournament right now. But I'm looking forward to hearing back from everybody on what their experience is, because I think LVO is a unique experience. If you have never gone, you have to go. It's a ton of fun hanging out with everybody and enjoying Vegas at the same time. Even though I'm going to quote Brad's wife here, the Rio last year was a little bit of a sell side of things. But it is a good time. And the camaraderie and the friends you will meet and the people you will meet from around the country. I actually had some very good conversations with a couple guys from Spain last year that opened my eyes to like some of the different metas and what they're talking about. So it's very interesting.
The meta there is also a lot different because of it's especially different if you're used to playing a lot of GW, because player plays trade for one makes the meta different in itself. But also, like, a lot of people travel from all over the world to come to that tournament.
Yeah. I mean, in that, the traveling from all over the world, like I say this to everybody, when you travel and you meet some people, you are going to meet some people that you just click with who possibly could be from, I don't know, the Netherlands or Norway or somewhere else, Denmark. And you guys just become friends, and then you keep touch through social media, Discord, all the other stuff that's out there. And you guys start planning to go to events together, like to meet up somewhere. You decide to take a trip to Europe with your wife, but for a weekend you sneak off to go to a GT kind of thing. It's it is something that definitely happens.
or as Britt said, this is where sadness comes to be. We will have to see. Yeah. They did true, Joe. They did remodel it. So we haven't been there since.
We have not been there since the remodel, which definitely I would say anything could have been a vast improvement. So we will hope. I hope you guys have a great time. I wish I could be there, just not this year. My next big event that I'm traveling to is All Is Dust in Petawawa, Ontario, Canada. So that's going to be a good time for me.
Gary Frank in the chat now. We were on our stream game together. The best is, you goofed up in a stream, and I've had this happen to me many a time when you forget to do something. So apparently Gary had the scariest NIDs in the universe because I could not make a battle shock test. I was on a roll of just failing all of them except for the avatar. And Gary was having the avatar was like living way too long, just forever. And I finally failed a battle shock on him, where he just joined my crowd of being terrified, apparently, because I couldn't make one. And he's like, and he finally goes, hey. And we were like, I guess there's no reason to try to auto pass it. Nothing bad can happen. And Gary's like, yep. And then the entire chat was like, yeah, except for the strat that says you automatically take mortals, and you could have killed him right there. And he's like, that would have been better. That would have been way better. TJ was busting his ass about Subway 100%. What do we think about new Necrons? I think new Necrons are fantastic. I enjoy Hyper Monkey, Death Leaper, Ninja Assassin Squad, but I really think that the Canoctic Court is my jam. It's just how to be super boring, take the board, deny points. I love that list. I think it's really good.
It is really fun for you just sit there for a very long time.
I actually think we were talking about this beginning and before and after the tournament, because we're trying to think about what we're going to bring for team tournaments later this year. And Necrons kept coming up, and I really do think that the Canoptic is going to be a big deal there, because I think it will create good differentials because of the fact that you can really hold people to a low score, because you can take away primary so well.
How has LVO ruled? Because before, but they're changing their rules constantly. Before, you couldn't do actions while engaged, even if you had a pistol. So have they changed that?
I don't know that one. I have to look for that, because I have a bunch of stuff that I want to use for that.
Because race becomes so much better when you can take set secondaries.
Yeah.
Oh God, when you just don't even care, you're like, yeah. Shoot.
I'm going to stand on these objectives this entire game, and I'm going to score 100 on secondaries. Stop me, please. Oh, look, this is like my old list.
Yeah, I just think Canoptic it has some mojo. It's got a little bit of everything, but it's got such a good way to deny. I like that list a lot. I think I really like what they did with Necrons, to be honest with you. I hope everyone. I'm going to give props to my boy Jason. Came down from Wisconsin with his hyperphase backflip list, which had a monolith and a god damn it, what's the big one? Tesseract Vault.
Yes. Legend.
Rocked it out.
Absolutely. That Tesseract Vault is hard to move around GW terrain.
That Tesseract Vault is hard to move around any terrain.
It's very true.
With
very
the changes to fly, can you even clear like the orc ruins?
Gotta use the strat. Gotta
Hey,
use the
boss,
strat.
We have to have an agreement, okay? I have a Tesseract Vault and a Monolith, so you're not allowed to screen me, because otherwise we can't play this game, okay? So
The weird thing is like, I hate big stuff like that, and it's funny because you want to play it, but man, that thing does drop a shit ton of damage on you. It's also so much bigger than I thought it was. When you finally see it on the board, you're like, wow, it is gargantuan.
it is, but it's huge.
It's also funny when you're hiding it behind obscuring, and it's just so laughably bigger than the terrain is. You're like, yeah, you can't see my guy. I'm like, I feel like I can. Like, he's right there. Okay, I feel that you're basically Godzilla trying to hide behind a stop sign right now.
It's like the
that's
Herodin.
right there. Oh,
I wanted somebody to take a picture of their table with a Herodin and a Tesseract Vault standing on either side of the ruins saying, I can't see you, like playing peekaboo.
Oh, you know what I want to do? Carmona was a good thing because we were talking about it Saturday because they changed the FAQ and they're using the WTC rules, which is you can't 1.1 around and you basically can exist in walls for the purposes of charges and fighting. And I actually like that a lot because I hate using nonsense mechanics to make it so when you can clearly make a charge. Crawley's trying to charge me, but I've 1.1 inched around a wall, and it looks like instead of a 2-inch charge, he has to make a 12-inch charge. You're like, yeah, but you're right there. I'll just punch
It's
you.
actually cancer. Do you have an orc building?
Oh God,
A
yes.
unit of race with the Technomancer fits in the side of the orc building to the point where you legally can't be charged.
But they are using the WTC rules for that, so you can. And I actually think that they're fair. I prefer that better.
Needed.
I love it. Godzilla can't hide behind a stop sign. But I like that ruling, to be honest with you. It also leads to less. I hate when you're just manipulating goof rules. You know what I mean? Like, I love playing, very precise movement and everything else. That's how you win the game. 40K is won on moving. But when you're using something that's like just a goof kind of rule, I don't like that. You're like, so apparently I could make this charge if I had a 25 millimeter base, but not a 32. Come on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that honestly, I hope they update the core rules for the fight phase now to be the 1-inch engagement, and the engagement is engagement range of the lids in front of you. That's engagement range, rather than because if you're fighting something through a wall, your second rank can't fight basically, which sucks.
Yeah, but it's better than just not making the charge. How about that? You know what I mean? I'd rather have that. And to be honest, you're running. It hurts some armies, but like the top armies are fighting one rank anyways. Like your chosen and your lord give 0 fucks, so they don't care.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
But
Brad, have you decided 100% what you're playing at LVO?
Absolutely not. I think I'm down to CSM. CSM orcs are always the thing because if I just decide I want to have YOLO Swaggins fun, it's either that or the Canoptic list. I think that it's hard to not have CSM in there at all times because they are just so explosively good.
I agree with that statement. I think the Canoptic you would have a lot of fun playing.
It's also much more Brad drinking resilient.
It's
It's
a true story also. But the yes, man, those guys, I love Accursed Cultists. I mean, a Blitz are a Blitz, man. They've been awesome forever. They're just cool. And Forge Fiends are like, what the shit is even happening right there? Like,
Yep.
Dev wounds, explosions. I mean, even the Nurgle one can spike so hard, critting on 5s. Ooh.
But do you want to play that for 9 rounds, including possible shadow round?
Well, I mean, shadow round, you're probably just going to have to. So if you're looking to win LVO, you got to win. You got to play 10 games.
Right, but I'm saying, do you, as the player, want to play CSM for that many games?
Dude, hold on. I love it. Andy, Brad deciding his army for LVO is worse than a girlfriend picking out what to wear.
That is absolutely true. We're all here saying this, and he'll take something completely different that none of us expected. I was able to borrow the models.
Lyle coming in with $5 super chat. If you fall in love with Canoptic and then don't let me play in North Carolina, I will be a sad panda. No, Lyle, you're all in, buddy. I will be playing Orcs down in North Carolina, and I hope the goddamn book's out by then. Joe coming to meta money coming in with, so we're in a new meta. Do Crons and AdMac change the field? I don't think they change the field. I think they add to the field. I guess that is changing the field. Like I said, yes.
100% add a lot to the field because now you have to look at what AdMac's playing and you have to spend a little bit of time reading up on what their strats can do because a couple of them and a couple of the detachments are really good.
I'm telling you right now, a horde army of those guys, which we've been working on with another Sean, man, you can be real annoying with that list, with the infiltrators, with the Vanguard, dude, the fact that their unit literally runs in and goes, hey man, you're -1 to your OC. Enjoy not taking the objective. It's just really jacked. Yeah. Brad's getting 5. I guess with taking bug Tyranids. I actually think Tyranids are underrated, and I think that they should be run. I actually like Sam Pope style, but even more trash and more gargoyles.
Sam Pope's list was annoying to play against. It had so many bodies.
Indeed, it does.
I'm telling you, Brad, I took that list that we talked about and played against Eldar the other day, and with all that trash, and on turn 1, I was like, I'm all over the board. You're not scoring any primary for the rest of the game.
I mean, gargoyles are just bonkersville with OC2, and you can move up to 24. So that's a thing. You're not wrong, Carmona.
Have you had it to where that you bring them back from strategic? Your opponent kills them on turn 1, on their turn 1. On your turn 1, you have brought them back.
They still shoot and scoot.
You bring them back. You shoot with them and then move on to the objective.
Yes.
And take it away from people. Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, KR just trying to fire me up again.
What you need to do is you need to play the my all Allurus custodian list. And then win with it so that everybody loses their mind. And then KR will cheer you on his.
He will just throw a rock at me.
Yes.
I don't know. The meta's still pretty diverse. I'm looking forward to looking forward to it, and I'm afraid of it at the exact same time because I am worried a little bit that they're going to touch people a little too hard in the data slate. Because we're in a decent place, yes, a couple people do need to get touched, but I don't want it to be too hard.
On that aspect, who do you think need to get touched? How do they need to get touched?
Oh, I want to do this first because it's still my favorite faction. That's why I'm not playing them. Night Spinners and the Incarn's mechanic are such hot trash that it cannot go another data slate. I don't care what the points are. You have to fix the mechanic of the Night Spinner and the mechanic of the Incarn. It's just so unfun to play again. It's not like they auto win. They still obviously are doing very well, but it's just not cool. You know what I mean? And people still have a bad taste from Eldari when they first came out. So it's like a double whammy. There's a reason people take triple Night Spinners in the Incarn and just start their army like that because it's just wacky bullshit.
It's also it's okay. We can nerf them now. The players got their investment for this edition out of them. It's okay. They can go into the graveyard to not be seen for the rest of the edition, right?
I mean,
yeah. So with the Yinkarn, is it can't charge after teleporting?
Yeah, you just make it like it used to be.
Once or battle round.
No, you don't need to just make it the old Yinkarn rules. What happened is the Yinkarn used to be able to bounce 100 million times, but on your turn, you couldn't just teleport and charge. You had to wait a turn. So you basically, something would get killed. You had to stay there and hang out for a minute or two. So that was a big deal because you could do trickery stuff, and it was a great unit with tons of tactical things you could do with it, but it wasn't just a derp. I killed a scout. I teleport 1 inch away from you, and I ought to make a charge. Loud coming in. Okay, I you know what I should probably start doing? Reading these before I read them out loud. But why start now? When I think about you, dataslate, I touch myself. Brad, probably, maybe. To be honest, I could be excited. I could not.
So, what do you think needs to happen to CSM, Brad?
I think CS has almost all points. One thing I do think that they need is when they packed, I think that it should just auto wound you. There's just make them auto wound for 1 D3 whatever. It's just there's no downside for 80% of the time because you get rerolls on everybody and shit like that. You're just making those checks. So you get
packed for mortal, just one single mortal.
Yeah, it would be great. It's not terrible, so you're not losing a bunch of models, but like it's also it does do something at least. You know what I mean? I mean, it's so often doesn't do anything. You know what I mean? So, but the other thing is that Chosen probably have to get hit, and they're going to hit the Forge Fiend. I can't imagine them not doing both.
Do they have to slap Chosen, or do they just need to slap the freaking Chaos Lord?
The
Chaos Lord for sure. Yeah.
I don't know that Chosen that by themselves need to be slapped near as much as the Chaos Lord. Just makes that unit above and beyond egregious.
Oh, and they'll probably make if they make the 1 CP strat 2 CP, it would fix a lot.
Yes, I agree there too.
That I'll agree with. Yep.
So it's just, or if they just make it not here. Actually, I'll completely fix it. Don't make the strat battle tactic. So you can't have the Chaos Lords going, you get a free strat, you get a free strat, you get a free strat. You're like, which one are you using? The good one. And the Nurgle strat's the Nurgle strat. I like it as defensively. It's a nice tech. It's annoying to play against, but it's still really useful. I don't think it's busted. And I think that they
on that wouldn't make it fair.
Yeah, but you don't want to touch both strats, so you got to figure one or the other. Ken Smith coming in with a $4.99. Hope Sangard and Korbulu get the good touch. Want a bad touch from Horus of Swords. Happy good touches to Brad. Thank you very much, sir. And I can't wait for you and Lyle to put some Blood Angels on the board and fight each other over Korbulu or no Korbulu. That is the question. I just said that Carmona switch from battle tactic.
What do you want to see get touched in a good way? Like get a points reduction, a minor rules change, something. What army do you want to see get the good touch?
I would like to
see. Can I pick a sub-faction?
I'd like to see a lot of people that got the vehicle keyword not be vehicles anymore.
Right, but that's taking stuff away.
No, well, I think that gains something.
He's like saying that fixes.
No, but I would like to see that. I'd like to see Nundums be able to go through walls.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that.
Pick a sub-faction.
Yeah, go ahead.
All Harlequin models get +1 to wound.
They should get -1 to wound. It's more into their jam.
They can't kill anything. Faction wise.
Nope.
No. In the lore, a freaking one single solitaire kills like an entire contingent of custodes. I know that's not a very good lore reference to use, but I'm going to use it anyway. But still, like it's the melee elf faction of awesomeness that has this cool play style of like in and out and using transports and stuff can't kill anything. Like
you know what I would like
and -1.
You know what I'm going to continue on with elves. You know what I'd like to see? Dark Eldar getting a bunch of buffs to their hand-to-hand and not being able to be played in Eldar and Craft World.
That leads me to my trap of, I think the biggest core problem with the game right now is that because they deconstructed toughness and strength so the way that they did, it now makes so many of the factions that were fun to play because of melee not playable, and just fix melee.
I do kind of, I'm going to old man the hell out of myself now. I liked it better before allies, you damn kids. Get off my lawn. You can bring way more cool shit when everybody isn't using one book. Marines, Eldar right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, you always have to, like, everybody always suffers because of one thing in that book. You know what I mean? Because if you stick this in there, like I used to love when you had just Harlequins, just Dark Angels, for instance, Space Wolves by themselves, where they couldn't pull from anything. I don't need a base book. Just freaking go here's the units you have available. Yeah, sure, some of them are going to overlap, but just go whatever the fuck is in your codex is that's it, man. That's what you get.
Do you think Dark Angels is going to fix that, where they go, if you take any of these Dark Angel specific units, you can't take Andal, Siege Force, da 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 da?
Yes. I think that they're only going to do the detachments that are in the Dark Angels book. That's me guessing completely, but I would like to make them take a step further and not make them draw all their shit from. You can reference it if they're using the same unit, which they do use a lot of
specific things.
Yeah, but basically, here is the data slates you're allowed to draw out of. Yes, there'll be a lot of them from the Space Marines book, but man, let them be unique. You know what I mean? In Dark Angels are the best ones for that, to be honest with you. Dark Angels, probably Space Wolves on that. A little bit on, well, if they make Sanguinary Guard good again, Blood Angels, all the non-compliant plus Dark Angels. Dude, think about how cool Deathwing, Ravenwing, they already have companies that are completely different. Make Salamander a Dark Angels and something else, Iron Hands, and you're like, I don't want them to be generic dudes with power armor.
What do you think about, and you can call me crazy and silly, if instead of doing like the weapons that's just like, oh cool, this is Strength 8 AP2, where it's like Thunderhammers have anti-armor 4, right? Or Power Fists have anti-infantry or not, whatever, like, right? Like, so you have the weapons specialized, but then each of the factions' melees can actually wound things and be effective against actual things.
It would be neat if they gave like faction rules, like power weapons for Blood Angels.
Yeah.
Right? Became anti-infantry 3-up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
The thing is, a couple guys are. We have a couple
3-up.
people in the chat of like, oh, don't do that, with the individual. And maybe it's too far to make him not use certain things, but just I want my chapters, and I want my chapters, my craft worlds, my seps, my orc clans. I want them to be unique to what that is, not just Marine with a different color.
Did they oversimplify too much? Because I've had this discussion with a few people. Did they oversimplify to the point where they've taken flavor out of the game?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. I do agree with that. I want more individuality out of my stuff. It maybe that's me because I've been playing for forever, and it's also hard to keep my attention span for more than 3 minutes because I'm a child. But I want my stuff to be a little bit different. Each one.
Well, I think that 9th was a good step in the right direction for that, but I agree with you that there were aspects of 9th that didn't make sense, that were too watered down, and that's what's hurting us now so much. Because it's like, if you look at the AdMech book, it's like, this is the Skitarii detachment, that's great. But when you're talking about the books that combine multiple books, like the Eldar book, then it just all falls apart, right? Yanari is a detachment. And I agree, we don't have the Eldar book yet, so that's probably a better reference. Space Marines is a better example, right? Where they tried to boil down entire chapters into 6 detachments. And it's like, we say this is the Iron Hands detachment, this and that. But it doesn't feel
No, but
good.
it doesn't, I would say it doesn't even, you're trying to say like Firestorm, Salamanders. No, it's not. It's Salamander-esque. Yeah.
It's the assault detachment,
Yeah,
right?
it's
It
just-
doesn't make me feel salamander.
Right.
It's just
Exactly. It's just, and maybe
Yeah,
it
it's
could be,
like
you
You're
used to
against
have
Blood
Fruit
Angels,
Loops,
and-
and now you have all-
and let's be honest,
You're using the Storm detachment.
to be fair, I think that we're gonna have to make a different judgment. Obviously, we're going on what we have right now, but I think it's going to be significantly different in 6 when we get a decent amount of codexes. Right now, we're still barely into the edition.
I mean, we are what, 7 months in at this point, right?
But we're not, because you didn't count the first 2.5 months. I refuse to acknowledge. I burnt that stuff out of my brain. That's not that edition was 9.8.34875. That was not the opening of 10th, because there's no way we would have started 10th doing that bad. So
Right.
10
But
weeks
the
in,
last 6 months don't count either, so we're at 50% through.
50% true.
So if you say that the last 3 months, right,
I'll give you that.
Like post data slate is the addition.
Yes, sir.
For the most part, there's been some balance,
Agreed.
but there's still boogeymen that are too prevalent, and you have to account for them in all of your list builds.
Yes, but I think you're always going to have that. The only time you're not really having boogeymen is when you're at the end of an edition and everybody has their toys. Once everybody's got a book, probably plus an expansion or a supplement or a white dwarf or a whatever, you know what I mean? Once everybody's got its stuff and everybody can kind of play from a semi-equal background, somebody's always going to have a little bit more than other people are until we get far enough in.
But I think that's the biggest problem that we have right now is because we don't get other boogeymen. None of the books that have came out have, I mean, Marines were the closest, but nothing's created a new boogeyman. This is
which
the
they're doing
worst parts
great.
of Night.
No, that's so good. I want
No,
them to be.
Yes, for Eldar and CSM players, that's fantastic.
Yes, but I mean, I would if they do. Look at if we're 6 months in and they just only keep putting out very fair codices. Awesome. I want that.
Yes, but
I want that too, but I also would like them to go and acknowledge that they screwed up really bad with some stuff and fix it, and don't take 3 tries to do it.
KR coming in with the lore bomb. I agree with you, KR. But I want my, if we're going to have lore be accurate to the rules, then I want my lore to be accurate to the rules. Not because a warp spider decided to roll 4 6s and kill my custodian without me being able to react.
Take that. He's too fast. He came out of the warp. Anna's got a good point. Anna and KR are both coming in with great chats on that. So excellent work. And the thing is I think I'm a little bit more on that. I guess a lot of people don't care because rules wise it's fine to do things, but I'm such a lore nerd that I want my stuff to play more like the books and stories. You know, so I guess
I like that you get the better versatility out of your collection now, because it's nice for, you know, like for a long time as a Ultramarine player, I wasn't buying Dev Centurions. They really never fit into my army. But then I was like, now they do. They're really fun to use now. But at the same time, I think part of GW's scheme of doing this, I shouldn't say scheme, part of their theme of doing this is every model in the Codex is available for you for your sub-faction. I think that's part of the reason they're doing it. A lot of people really love it. A lot of us old-timers are a little crotchety about it in some ways. Probably partially myself. But we just got to keep...
Damn kids.
And I have screamed to get off my lawn at least once in my life, so we're doing good there.
I'm just trying to think because it's just 9th was a really good addition in hindsight, but we had bad areas. But we've had a very long bad area.
It ended so strong though. 9th,
Yes.
that's the problem is, yes, 9th had a bunch of problems, but the problem is 9th finished the last season was not Game of Thrones. It was
Right.
The end of 9th ended so strong.
I mean, the end of 9th was MASH. I mean, an old reference for a lot of people, but it ended on just a very high point, and we went from a high point to a low point, and now we're slowly creeping back up a little bit higher. But we just hit such a low that for a lot of people, and partially myself on this one, it was just like, oh, it's so trying. Because every time I go to a table and I see Eldar across from me, and if I go, oh, look, 3 Night Spinners.
Still why I'm not bringing them. I don't feel like people just going, oh, hey, Brad, I'd like to go poke my eyes out before playing your army.
But the boogeymen that we had in 9th rotated, and that made the meta rotate. And that felt better, not good, but better than now with it being the same boogeyman. Because if you're a lone player that plays one army and you can't play into Eldar, you haven't had play since the books came out, right? You're just praying for your book to come out. Some factions can do better and some can't. But since the boogeyman doesn't rotate, you're still stuck. And that's why I think we're suffering from the attrition that we are right now.
I can see that. Here, I'm gonna bring us to the joys of the game and what can help you do, because I had a great question and I wanted to share it and I want to get some answers from you guys. So what are some of your must-haves for tournaments? carts, snack, shoes, insole, mats, game aids. What are the things that are your go-tos now that you try to not travel without if you can, especially if you're driving to a tournament?
So the rolling cart for me is one of the nicest things because it allows you to get your army around and not break your back carrying models back and forth, or at least a tray to move your army on. Is the first 100% must have. My second is game aids. When I forget my game aids, I forget so many rules and so many buffs to put on things because I don't have it there in front of me. Those are my two must go tos. And when I remember it, a yoga mat to put down on the floor to prevent my feet from becoming super exhausted is also really nice.
Mat. I have to say that I like the mat. I didn't think I was going to like the mat as much until I got one from Ed, and then I was like, this thing's awesome.
For me, measuring sticks, absolutely the best thing ever. It is so easy to be able to just hand your opponent a 9-inch stick and say, hey, here you go. Easy day. Don't have to measure it and look over a thing. A laser is super valuable. Makes so many conversations super easy and to go off of. And yeah, I'll just piggyback on the game aids. Having things to mark, tokens to mark your effects will save you so much headache. You can put them directly in front of your unit so your opponent doesn't worry about forgetting, because there's nothing worse than being like, oh, that unit's buffed to the 9s. Whoops, I forgot. Yeah, those would be my top 3.
As far as things on that, I think that it's a big deal, especially when I go to Vegas and stuff like that. You have to have liquid. You have to have water, drinks with you. You know what I mean? It's underrated because you basically get dehydrated. I know it sounds crazy on that because I drink a lot of wine, but I also drink a lot of everything else. So it's a big deal to chug the water down. So that's a huge thing on that. The other thing is that I do think that you have to have something where you can reference your stuff with your game aids. I like the cards a lot, obviously. I like that. Have the app open. Just whatever it can to make yourself at ease. I like to have the cards and shit right in front of you. Even if you have to make your own cards, just index and stuff like that, put things where you're gonna reference in front of you at all times. It makes it so much easier to play. Pain meds. Oh Jesus, 100%.
Yeah,
it's not bad. It's one thing that I'll say. I don't know how Horton and I passed that over.
yeah.
Water and pain meds, 100%.
Pain meds really important. The other thing, a travel mate is fantastic, because I have gone to events where I've gone by myself and I'm more exhausted at the end of the day. When I go with someone else, their juice keeps me going. I know that sounds weird because most people do travel together, but I have found that the more of a group you can travel with and enjoy the time with helps out immensely.
Well, I mean, that's what I do with people. I always want to go to an event where the most of my friends are going, to be honest with you. I like that. Do you know what the dude's name is? He says there's a guy in Etsy who does Codex specific game aid tokens. I love stuff like that. I promote people like that all the time. But I really think that having any of your stuff, obviously your water, your pain meds, your stuff, what's one of the big things? Pack more clothes than you think you need. Letting you know, there's a lot of big heavy bros there. You're gonna get sweaty at some point in time, and nothing ruins your day like going, this is gross. Go put on a new shirt. Can make the last game feel 1,000,000 times better.
Yeah.
Brian is an energy vampire. Confirmed.
Very much so. If everyone wonders how I can make it through like walking a bajillion miles while running an event, I suck energy up off of everybody. Just like being hyped and doing everything, it kind of pumps me up a little bit and keeps me going. So that's a bizarre truth.
I thought that was your alcoholism.
Look, I don't have an alcohol problem. I drink.
Potato.
I get drunk. I sober up. Again, it's not a problem.
I never said it was a problem, right? You usually have the best booze out of everybody.
People say I'm a too angry Irishman, that I get drunk and I fight people. And I take offense to that, and I will fight you while I'm drinking. Brad is a regular vampire. And it does come out great. Always have something to snack on. It's important, man. Keeping yourself feeling great will make you have a great tournament, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Keep yourself in positive mojo, positive health, all those things that help you so you're not frustrated because you did some dumb shit during the game. Don't be part of the Snickers commercial where you do things when you're hangry. So
I will say that I learned one of the things from I'm gonna not remember his name, but one of the judges at LVO that I met for the first time I went to LVO, carried an orange around with him the entire day. And I'm like, why do you carry an orange around with you? He goes, well, sometimes you have to give a ruling to somebody and they're a little odoriferous. And he goes, so I take the orange and I just put my fingernail in it and give a little sniff of the orange and it clears my sinuses out and I feel much better afterwards.
that's fantastic.
I have gotten into the habit of trying to keep a piece of citrus fruit around.
Number one rule of conventions: get up a little early and eat a good breakfast.
Oh,
Make sure you've got protein, you've got some fruit, and just eat a solid breakfast. Your lunch is going to go to shit. Your round 2 is going to go longer, or round 1, or whichever round it is. You're going to be sitting there hangry as hell after a really long game that the judges made you play through to be able to figure out how the resolution was. You're going to have 5 minutes left and have to eat at the $30 pizza cart. Eat a good breakfast.
And meet me in the gym. Let's do this.
Yes. Yes.
That's a good way to wake up. I like to do anything, to be honest with you, in the morning. Don't walk into your game 1 as a zombie. Just wander around a little bit.
Yep.
And I can tell you, I've seen Brad walk into game 5 as a zombie, or game 4, I should say, on a day where he comes in and he's like, and I'm like, oh, you're playing this guy.
Hey.
Can somebody get me a bottle of water and a glass of wine?
you say it like it's a bad thing. On that note, everybody, let's promote something. I'm going to go with mine. 40K Lorecast. I love my podcast. It's making me super happy. I get to talk nerd, and no one can stop me.
I'm going to go with theartstorecny.com. If you are looking for old world stuff, we still have some left, considering I know a lot of places got shorted. And if you are a fan of the old world, we have some of it still available in stock for pre-order.
That is true. I do. I'm sorry. I just looked at the quotes. Because Brad's an afternoon zombie, not morning. I do sundown quite a bit, but we won't talk about that. So, Crawley, where are you going to be? What's happening with you? When's the next time I see you traveling, my friend?
I do not know. Right now, work is taken off. I'm going to be visiting 5 countries in 2 months for work. So I do not know the answer to that question.
Just assume that when we get Cyberdyne Technologies takes over the world, it is mostly your fault.
Yes. But you're also my friend, so I'll take care of you. We're good.
True story. All right, everyone, let's give a Queen's wave and get out of here tonight. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Wait a second. Please like and subscribe to the video channel. It helps out so much. Never too late.